Spencer Strider takes the mound today. Is it fair to expect him to dominate, though? Let's talk about it. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today for Tuesday, May 20th. Your source of news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can follow the show on X, Braves_today. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram as well. And you can find all my written work, bravestoday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. A little bit of different stuff on the Substack. Again, a day where they don't overlap. We talked about the Braves and their use of defensive shifts, or shades as they're called now, with the shift restrictions in place over on the newsletter. Not going to get into that on the pod, but definitely go check it out. bravestoday.com, free or paid, helps us out a ton. So Spencer Strider takes the mound today, and we're going to get into that. I do want to also talk about the series against Washington in general, as well as some really dumb trade ideas that have been circulating in the last couple days. Some of them advanced by members of Braves media or Atlanta media, some of them just originating from fans. But let's talk about Strider, because he was officially activated from the injured list yesterday. And so while it is technically a TBD today, it is going to be Spencer Strider starting in Nationals Park against Washington this evening, whatever. And I'm a little bit, not nervous, but I'm a little bit worried about the version of Spencer Strider we're going to see versus what everybody is expecting. And I think the reason for that is we saw Spencer Strider make a start in Toronto against the Blue Jays. 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Gave up a home run. And I think the big thing there is that wasn't necessarily the exact same version of Spencer Strider that we've been accustomed to seeing, right? In 2023, his full season as a starter, he averaged 97.2 miles an hour on the fastball. In 2022, when he started off in relief and then moved to the rotation, he averaged 98.2, right? He averaged 95.4 in that start against the Blue Jays. And this is one of those things, like he gave up a home run off of a slider, I think, and then 2 extra base hits. I mean, 5 total hits, but 3 for extra bases. 2 doubles, both off the fastball, and then the slider. He did throw 6 changeups and 4 curveballs, but it was like 60% four-seam usage. So right there with what he had always done prior to adding the curveball, like that same kind of usage there of 60% heater and then around 30% or so slider. And I want to make sure we have proper expectations here, right? He threw, 75 or so pitches in that sim game last week. He says he is fully healthy, ready to go. He said he was healthy before the sim game, but he was ready to go. But I want to make sure that we're prepared that he could struggle a little bit today, right? This may not, in the first game back, be Cy Young candidate Spencer Strider, which it feels like a lot of people are expecting. Judging by the excitement on social media this morning and a lot of people's comments yesterday when he was activated, which conveniently happened right at the end of the recording of the show, a lot of folks are expecting Spencer Strider to be Spencer Strider. And you're going to see flashes of that, but it's not going to be to the same level. And I think there's a couple reasons. One is obviously coming off both the hamstring strain and the elbow surgery, right? We've seen other pitchers who are very good who are struggling after that elbow surgery. Sandy Alcantara has one of the worst ERAs in baseball. The stuff is there. The velocity's there. He's hitting 98 still, but the locations are not, and he just looks a little rusty, right? While Strider did not have the same intensity of the surgery, he did not have a standard Tommy John with a UCL replacement. He instead had an internal brace put in with cleaned up with some bone spurs, and his UCL is intact. I still think that it's proper to temper our expectations. One, because it's his second start back from that injury or from that surgery. But then two, he's traditionally not been great in Nationals Park. In ballparks where he's pitched 3 or more times, Nationals Park, he has the second worst ERA of any of them. They 4.64. 4 starts, 21 in the third innings. He is 3-1 in those. So, like, the Braves have won a lot of those games. But 3-1, 4.64 ERA. He's given up 3 home runs in 21 innings, 11 runs on 15 hits, 8 walks to 28 strikeouts. He's faced a total of 87 batters. If you were curious, by the way, the ballpark he's been the worst is Citi Field. Well, again, with 3 or more starts. He has a 4.91 ERA, and again, the Braves are 2-1 there. 14 and 2/3 innings, 19 strikeouts, 9 walks. Like, actually rough numbers for Spencer Strider. The thing that I love is in Philly, and 4 starts, 3-0 with a 1.88 ERA. I think that's in the regular season, actually. Not 100% sure how Baseball Reference breaks that down. But, yeah, in Nationals Park, 4.64 ERA. And there's a couple players on that team who have hit him pretty well. So, the worst out of anybody who has at least 10 plate appearances in their careers off of Spencer Strider is catcher Keibert Ruiz. He started off 0 for 6. In 2022, he was 0 for 6. In 2023, he went 4 for 9 with 2 doubles and 3 RBI off of Spencer Strider. So for his career, he's batting .267 in 15 plate appearances with 4 strikeouts, 3 RBI, 2 doubles, 4 total hits. And like it could be worse after that. CJ Abrams is batting .333. He is 3 for 9. He has a walk. That makes 10 plate appearances. Only 1 strikeout against Spencer Strider. He has a double. And he started off in 2022 when Strider was relieved to starting, he was 0 for 2. Like, all of his production came in 2023. I think he's only ground out once. Like, he's had some pretty hard hit balls, too. He has 3 hard lineouts to the outfield, 1 strikeout swinging, and then it's fly ball, ground out, a single, a double. Like, he hasn't really I think he's rolled over one pitch. And outside of that, he's just been really good against Strider. And then the best one is infielder Luis Garcia Jr. He's batting .385 against Strider. 5 of 13. He's hit 2 home runs. He has 4 RBI, 3 strikeouts. But he's batting .385 with a 13.08 OPS off of Spencer Strider. He homered in 2022. He homered in 2023. In September, he actually had a game against Strider in September where he went 2 for 3. He ground out, he hit a single, then he hit a home run. So, like, he's been the guy that has been able to get Spencer Strider. But what's fun, what I'm really excited about, is Strider has never faced Dylan Cruz. Strider's never faced James Wood, these young prospects of the Nationals, especially Wood, who he looks like he could be a stud in the future. Strider's never faced either one of them because they didn't come up until late last year. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. Speaking of, let's talk about what the Atlanta Braves as a whole need to do against Washington and what are proper expectations here. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Chinook Seedery, the absolute best sunflower seeds on the market. They've got 8 fantastic flavors. Original, just a great blend of saltiness and sweetness. Lemon pepper, jalapeno ranch, smokehouse barbecue, hatch chili, dill pickle, cinnamon toast, and Parmesan and pepper. So, go to ChinookSeedery.com, ChinoOok, ChinookSeedery.com. Use promo code BRAVES and get you a couple things. If you buy the sampler pack, which is just all 8 flavors, 2-ounce packages, so that you can try them and see what you like, They ship it to you for free, but you get 10% off with promo code BRAVES. Once you know what you like or you're just ready to go ahead and jump all the way in, you can buy a variety pack, which is just some of everything in a case, or you can build your own pack with just the flavors that you like. Again, promo code BRAVES at ChinookSeedery.com gets you 10% off and free shipping on orders over $40. So again, ChinookSeedery.com, promo code BRAVES. That's ChinookSeedery.com, promo code BRAVES. Okay, so let's talk about what the Atlanta Braves need to do against Washington this week. You have a fully rested bullpen, which I think is nice. Hopefully you don't have a repeat of last Wednesday when you had to go to your B team in the bullpen and they blew a lead, which they'd repeated on Saturday. But last week against them, Braves went 3-1, hit .281 as a team, right? So 38 for 135. Atlanta scored 18 runs. They had 2 home runs, 8 total extra base hits. They walked 8 times. They struck out 32. So they averaged 2 walks a game. They struck out an average of 8 times a game. They also stole 4 bases. So they averaged 1 stolen base a game, but they also got thrown out twice. So not a good trade-off there, really. I do think that it's going to be a little bit different this week because of the pitchers that you will end up seeing, right? You saw last week Jake Irvin, Michael Soroka, Mitchell Parker, and Trevor Williams. You'll see both Parker and Williams in this one, but then you're trading out Irvin and Soroka for Mackenzie Gore, who has been one of the better pitchers in baseball this year, but also has struggled in some of his more recent starts to repeat the fantastic results that he was getting early in the year. Mackenzie Gore leads baseball with 84 strikeouts, all of baseball. But he gave up 4 earned runs two times ago against St. Louis. He only went 5 innings against Cincinnati. He only went 3 2/3 against Baltimore. Only 2 runs, but 10 hits allowed. Walked a couple guys. So he's got 9 walks over his last, I can't do math in my head, 15 innings, which obviously not great. He's also struck out 25 in that stretch too, right? He's allowed 19 hits. We'll preview Mackenzie Gore coming up later in the week with the usual breakdowns of what you can expect, what he's going to do, all of that good stuff. But you seem to do pretty well against some of these pitchers. So the Mitchell Parker start, he left the game pretty early. He didn't make it through 5. 4 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks to 6 strikeouts. And if you'll remember, his big thing was fastball, splitter, curveball was what he was doing. He threw a little bit of a slider. He got a couple whiffs on it. He threw 6. The Braves swung. It was 4 times, and there was 2 whiffs there. But the big thing was the fastball. Atlanta swung 29 times. They got 5 whiffs on it. They put 7 in play, but they fouled 17 of them off. It really felt like Atlanta was trying to guard against the splitter and the curveball and just fouling off the fastball. So he was just trying to not throw them the splitter and the curveball when they were looking for it. Went a little fastball heavy, more fastball heavy than I think they were expecting. Righties saw 55% fastball. Lefties got a little bit better. Lefties, it was like majority slider, then 4-seamer. But righties, he went heavy on the fastball to righties. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do here against Mitchell Parker. Again, I don't expect either starter to go deep today. You got Mitchell Parker out of the game pretty early last time. Spencer Strider, I think if you get 5 innings out of Strider, you should be happy. The bullpen's fully rested. They didn't pitch yesterday, and a lot of them didn't pitch on Saturday or Sunday either. You're doing just fine on the bullpen rest. You should be able to have just about everybody. But I'm excited to see what's going to happen there. And then Trevor Williams started game 2 versus AJ Smith-Shawver. I really think you have the advantage there as well. AJ's been fantastic recently. His ERA is under 1 his last, I think, 3 times out combined. And then Chris Sale versus Gore on Thursday is going to be a great matchup because it's the current strikeout leader versus last year's strikeout leader. It's going to be fun to watch that. I do think the big question I have here is how much Drake Baldwin plays. He got 3 of the starts against Washington. I'm sorry, he got 2 of the starts against Washington. He came in late in the third one and got a late hit. And then he got 2 starts against Boston. And he's leading the team in just about every single non-counting stat on offense. He's batting .357 with a 400 on base and a .583 slug. Going back to the start of that Washington series, he is 10 for 18 with 2 home runs and 6 RBI. Given that the Nationals do run, like they are a team that will run, they've got some guys who can steal some bases. I want to say that they have Dylan Cruz has 11. I think CJ Abrams is just under 10. And they have a couple other guys who are at 5 or more. I want to say James Wood, Jacob Young, and I don't have it in front of me, Luis Garcia all have more than 5, somewhere between 6 and 8 or something. So they've got like 50 stolen bases as a team. I really do think that Atlanta is going to have to be mindful of, if they're running a lot on Drake Baldwin, you may have to go to Murphy a little bit. Maybe the AJ Smith-Shawver start is Murphy. And when you face Parker and when you face Gore, is that when the Braves choose to use Baldwin? Do they try to force the lefty-righty thing and put Sean Murphy in there for the lefties of Parker and Gore and send Baldwin up for game 2? But it's just clear, and nothing against Sean Murphy. Sean Murphy's a very good catcher. Braves fans are incredibly lucky. We're going to get to this in the third segment, by the way. Braves fans are incredibly lucky that we have 2 catchers that are played so incredibly well right now. Because I think that's a little bit different from how most teams, like the results that most teams get out of the position. When you sort wins above average by position, Atlanta, on Baseball Reference, Atlanta is second in baseball for WAR from their catchers at 1.2. And only half the league is even positive, right? The 17th place team is Washington at negative 0.1. The only team ahead of Atlanta is the Cubs at 1.8. Carson Kelly was nuclear to start the season, ton of home runs. I think a lot of that is offensive. Seattle's right tied with Atlanta at 1.2, but they do most of it from Cal Raleigh, right? So the Braves are lucky to have 2 catchers who are so great at the same time, and it's really difficult to get play time for both of them when you have an everyday DH. I don't think they're going to sit Marcell Ozuna. That's the problem. You really can't say, we got to bench Marcell Ozuna. The Braves are 6th in baseball for WAR from the DH position. The only teams ahead of them are the Dodgers, which is almost entirely Shohei Ohtani. Boston, which is almost entirely Rafi Devers. You saw last weekend what he can do to you. Philly, almost entirely Kyle Schwarber. And the Yankees, which are majority Ben Rice, but they've put Judge there some. They've put Dominguez there some. Like, they've rotated guys through. And then Seattle's rotated a bunch of guys through, but Jorge Polanco's had a really great season there. So, like, the only other position these guys can play is a position where you're top 10 and more. I do wonder, Atlanta is 5th from the bottom in WAR from left field. That's negative 0.9. With Ronald coming back, I'm guessing on Friday, you're probably out of time to try Drake Baldwin in left field. He would be one of the slowest left fielders you've ever seen. I think Kyle Schwarber is faster than him, but among the slowest left fielders we've seen in the StatCast era in Atlanta include Jurickson Profar and Alex Verdugo. So it's not like you've had a bunch of burners out there. I am excited to have Eli White out there on close to a full-time basis when Ronald's back. We'll get to that probably later this week when it's time to bring Ronald back up. Again, I thought it was going to be today. We found out that it was going to be, he's continuing the rehab. The medical team has to clear him first, and they want to see him play back-to-back games in the outfield before they clear him. But either way, it definitely is like, the offense needs to continue to hit. Okay? Especially because you don't know what you can get out of Chris Sale today. I'm sorry, out of Spencer Strider today. You don't know what you can get out of Spencer Strider today. So the offense needs to continue to hit just so that you're not in a situation where the bullpen can blow a small lead late. And I'm confident, based on some of the recent stuff that they've done, that the Braves will probably continue to hit. Because again, they hit 281 against Washington in that series, including several games where they were just crushing the ball and not necessarily getting the results out of it. And in the last 7 games, the 12th through the 18th, they were hitting 305 because the Boston series was so good with an 817 OPS. The Braves have 8 home runs in the last 7 games. So although obviously 6 of those came in the 3 games in Boston, they only had 2 in the National Series. So hopeful that the Braves can go at least 2-1 here. I don't like to pick a sweep simply because it's so hard to sweep a team 3 times. But either way, hopeful the Braves bats can continue going. The bullpen being rested can help if you have a short start from Spencer Strider on Tuesday. In just a second, there's been some really dumb trade proposals going around. And I think there's a couple things about trades that not everybody's thinking about we need to discuss. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. Final segment of Braves Today, Lindsay Crosby. We're going to talk about bad trades right now because there was a segment on 680 The Fan in Atlanta. And this is nothing against those guys. They're really hardworking guys. They're really good at what they do. I'm not trying to dunk on these guys. But they were talking about the concept of Paul Skeens of the Pirates going on the trade block. And they asked, would you trade Drake Baldwin and AJ Smith-Shawver for Paul Skeens? A couple things here. One, that's like Skeens is not rumored to be available. All of the talk of Skeens being traded has been created by like New York baseball media and things like that. What if Paul Skeens was on the Yankees, right? There's no indications that the Pirates are looking to trade Paul Skeens. It is true that they trade players rather than sign them to extensions, but they typically wait until the players are more expensive. Skeens has a 1.5 years of service time. He's not at the point of getting paid huge money. So it's not going to happen. That's not happening probably this year at the trade deadline. It's not happening in the offseason, okay? So up front, this is already a ridiculous exercise. But a lot of the responses on the social media post about this were people saying, no, I wouldn't trade Drake Baldwin and AJ Smith-Shawver for Paul Skeens. There's a couple things here. Thing number one, if the Braves called and offered Drake Baldwin and AJ Smith-Shawver for Paul Skeens, the Pirates would hang up the phone on Atlanta. Juan Soto was dealt from the Nationals to the Padres with 2.5 seasons of control left. And I know he's a hitter and not a pitcher, but I'm equating 2.5 seasons of Juan Soto with 4.5 seasons of Paul Skeens, right? Generational talents who are among the best in baseball at the thing that they do well. And to adjust for the fact that Skeens is a starter and not a reliever, starter and not a position player, I'm roughly equating 2.5 years and 4.5 years, right? The package for Juan Soto and half a season of Josh Bell was C.J. Abrams, their starting shortstop, Mackenzie Gore, who leads baseball in strikeouts, James Wood, who looks like he's going to be a star in the outfield, hard-throwing Jarlin Susana, who is still in the minors, dealt with some injury stuff, was really raw and young when they traded him. He's like 18 or 19 when he got dealt. And Robert Hassel, who was actually one of the top prospects in the deal at the time and has stalled out in the high minors. That was the deal to get Juan Soto with 2.5 seasons of control left. For the Braves to get Paul Skeens, the package would start at something like Michael Harris, AJ Smith-Shawver, Drake Baldwin, J.R. Ritchie, Hurston Waldrop. And honestly, the Pirate, that's just to get in the conversation. That's just to be in the running were they actually to decide to trade Paul Skeens. And Pittsburgh would probably want more hitting prospects. They probably would want to swap out Waldrop for a hitter, for a bat. And Atlanta does not really have the publicly acclaimed hitting prospects We know that they have prospects that are good at hitting, but Atlanta does not have the prospects that are on the top prospect list as being very good hitters to put in this deal. So I just want to make sure everybody realizes the idea of, yeah, A.J. Smith-Shawver and Baldwin for Skeens would not get it done. And so a lot of Braves fans are saying, like, I wouldn't trade those two guys for Skeens. Then you would never make the deal for what it would actually take to get Paul Skeens. For the record, I'm torn, right? If the deal was Baldwin and A.J. Smith-Shawver straight up for Paul Skeens, it would be really tempting for me simply because of the fact that you're dealing from a position of strength at catcher. You're dealing from a position of strength in the rotation, and you would get an upgrade. You would get one of the best players in baseball at his respective position. Like, anytime you can get a top 5 player at his position, it feels like it's potentially worth the risk. So I honestly would have to think long and hard about that deal were it to legitimately be on the table, but it's not. And then another deal that I've seen is people saying the Braves should trade, I want to say it was Jared Kelenic, Orlando Arcia, and some other piece. Maybe it was Nick Allen, maybe it was Alex Verdugo, something, to go get like Bo Bichette from Toronto. And I think people need to understand that the 5-for-1 trades where you just take all of your crap and you throw it into the deal and you get a good player in return normally aren't that, like, they aren't that common. We made one with Aaron Bummer. To get Aaron Bummer, we traded away 4 or 5 guys that we wanted the non-tender. We gave them all to the White Sox, and we got Aaron Bummer. Aaron Bummer's a lefty reliever who has underperformed his inputs since he's been in Atlanta. I wrote about that yesterday in the newsletter because of the nature of what he does, the ground ball heavy profile and all of that. But those kind of deals aren't common. Jared Kelenic, the best you are going to do for Jared Kelenic, if you were to trade him right now, would be cash considerations, which is limited to $100,000, or taking on their failed prospect in return. That's the best you would do. You would not get an actual asset for Jared Kelenic right now. From the same vein, Orlando Arcia is in that same boat, right? Like, nobody's going to give you anything of value for Orlando Arcia. But I also don't think the Braves should trade Orlando Arcia, right? We are happy with Nick Allen as the shortstop. His offense his batting average is okay. His slugging's like under 300. It's almost embarrassing, like, how little power he has, but it's working, right? He's that slap hitting, good defense, decent speed guy. And Orlando Arcia doesn't have a lot of value right now. Like, he's not pinch hitting for you. They do sub him in on defense if they pinch hit for Nick Allen, but even then, Luke Williams could cover shortstop for an inning or so. But Orlando Arcia's value is he can play a competent shortstop. And if you were to have an injury to Nick Allen, you're not going to play Eli White at short every day. You're not going to play Luke Williams at short every day. You're going to play a guy who's played shortstop, who has been a shortstop. And Orlando Arcia, while his offense is anemic, he's at least adequate defensively. And so if you have an injury to Nick Allen, that's the value for Orlando Arcia. He is worth, you're paying him $2 million for this year. You have a club option on him for next year. And if you have a middle infield injury or a third base injury, you can play Orlando Arcia from a defensive perspective and be fine. You are not going to get much for Orlando Arcia if you try to trade him. If you pair together Orlando Arcia and Jared Kelenic, you're not getting much on the trade market for them. But Arcia does have value to you because he fits in the clubhouse and he is a cheap guy who can establish a defensive floor for you were you to lose Nick Allen, or you might end up playing Eli White at second if Ozzie misses time. I don't know. It depends on what your outfield looks like. But that's the value of Orlando Arcia. He's not a guy that's expendable. He is insurance. Ideally, you never need to use him. We don't see him to grab a bat the rest of this year, hopefully. But he's there if you need him, and you can't just jettison him because everything is working well right now. Because one injury, and Lord knows we've seen this team get injured. One injury, and all of a sudden you need him again. Same thing with Sean Murphy. People are saying trade Sean Murphy for middle relief help. One, no. Two, you trade Sean Murphy, Drake Baldwin gets hit by a bat on a backswing. Drake Baldwin tweaks a hammy running the bases. All of a sudden, you're starting James McCann and Jason DeLay every day. You're not trading Sean Murphy. You're not trading Orlando Arcia. You're not getting anything of actual value for Jared Kelenic unless you think you can try to fix another failed prospect. It is what it is. This has been Braves Today for Tuesday, May 20th. Do us a favor. You're listening on audio. Leave a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when we drop tomorrow's episode. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.